Hubu, ktorý teda Zuzka nám povie o tom niečo viac. Zuzka, poď teraz.
Dobre, tak idem teraz ja by som chcela srdečne privítať na našej ešte také trošku punkovej stavbe, je to ešte trošku divoké, tak prosím o strpenie. Urobíme na tom, aby to bolo čím skôr, tým lepšie. Ja možno len pár slov za Hub, takže možno ste si všimli, že máme niečo ako sú coworkingové priestory pre rôzne firmy, ktoré vlastne budú sídliť nad nami, respektíve niektoré z nich aj sídlia. No ale okrem toho, že teda máme nejaké kancelárske riešenia, tak veľmi nám ide o to teda práve podporovať takýto nejaký náš lokálny biznisovo, blockchainovo, technologický ekosystém. A som strašne radi, že to môžeme robiť aj takýmto spôsobom, že teda môžeme hostovať meetupy blockchainu tuto u nás. A to je asi za mňa všetko, ja v podstate nič viac vám tu nepotrebujem povedať. Pracuje sa na tom, aby fungovali aj vecká. technická otázka, ale inak asi všetko. Dobre, tak teda pekný večer a užite si dnešnú prednášku a stikrov.
Takže ako ste počuli, zatiaľ moc nepite a necikajte, ale môžete jesť koláčiky tam vzadu. No a ja ešte hodím aj disclaimer o tom, že čo bude náš ďalší blockchain meetup, kým ešte dávate pozor. Takto za mesiac sa tu stretneme na panelovej diskusii ohľadom regulácií a kryptomien, kde bude niekoľko hostí, jeden tu aj sedí dokonca a budú tu aj ľudia z ministerstva financií a budú tu aj ľudia z pospolitého bitcoinového ľudu. Takže to bude určite veľmi zaujímavé, bude to 9.10. si to zapíšte do kalendáru, tak. No a dneska tu máme teda váženého hostia, Ivan Kaleja z ďalekej Argentíny po niekoľkých rokoch došiel do svojej domoviny, aby nám teda niečo povedal o RSK alebo Rootstock, čo je teda, už povie on. A kto tu z vás pozná RSK Rootstock? Super, tak pár ľudí. Dobre, takže ten plán je taký, že Ivan nám povie svoju prezentáciu na nejakých 45 minút zhruba, no a potom budeme mať Q&A cez Skype so CEO Rootstocku, Gabrielom Kurmanom, takže...
To bude aj kratšie.
Dobre, takže tie otázky potom teda necháme nakoniec, keď samozrejme tie otázky potom budú v angličtine a Ivan bude hovoriť v slovenčine, ak by ešte nezabudol, takže Ivan, floor is yours.
Dobrý podvečer prajem. Ja by som si asi radšej sadol, keď vám to nebude vadiť. Chceš? By som sa... OK. Aby som... Dobre, tak ešte raz. Dobrý podvečer. Chcem poďakovať za pozvanie Davidovi. V podstate spájame príjemné s užitočným. Ja som prišiel sem len za rodinnými činnosťami, takže v podstate sme to urobili takto narýchlo. Chcem vysvetliť, že najprv bol plán spojiť sa asi v polovici tej prezentácie s technikom z RSK, ktorý by mal vysvetliť tie technické veci okolo toho. Nakoniec sa to nedalo, takže to v podstate len takto ja to teoreticky vysvetlím. Chcem požiadať samozrejme o pochopenie, lebo slovenčina, ten technologický posun bol veľký, keď ja som bol preč, takže tie výrazy, ja asi radšej budem hovoriť v angličtine, keď niekto mi pomôže, tak asi to by takto. Takže dneska budeme hovoriť o RSK alebo Rootstock a je to v podstate prvá blockchain, čo je sidechain Bitcoinu, takže umožňuje v podstate tie smart contract na blockchaine Bitcoinu. Vysvetlím, aby som k tomu nejako došiel, tak sa vrátim trošku do minulosti, aby som povedal, že v podstate od tých 90. rokov ten prínos internetu bol obrovský, hlavne v tom prevode informácií. Takže dnes už nikto nemusí chodiť do knižnice alebo pozerať na noviny alebo ísť niekam ku zdroju, aby sa dostal k informácii. V podstate máme všetky informácie, takto povediac, na dlani. Dneska už sa naťuká všetko do Google a v priebehu sekundy máte všetky odpovede na displeji. To bol v podstate ten internet tých vedomostí alebo informácie. A dnes už prichádzame v podstate vďaka Bitcoinu a blockchainu vchádzame do internetu hodnoty. Pretože doteraz ešte, alebo takto povediať do toho 2009 roku, keď vyšiel Bitcoin, internet ešte nedokázal vyriešiť problém prevodu hodnoty cez internet v podstate. Tak, ako sa prevážali informácie, hodnota sa nedá prevážať, pretože samozrejme je tam každý digitálny archív sa môže kopírovať a ak by som ja vám poslal niekomu z vás, posielam ti 100 eur a pošlem ti z toho fotku, tak to by som mu asi žiadnu hodnotu nedával. Takže v podstate vďaka blockchainu a bitcoinu už vchádzame do éry internetu od hodnoty, kde už tú hodnotu v podstate môžeme prenášať medzi peer-to-peer, medzi účastníkmi, ako by som to vysvetlil, medzi ľuďmi. A to je ďalší obrovský prínos do vývoja. Samozrejme, hneď ľudia prišli na to, že v podstate ten blockchain nemá tú výhodu len v prevode peňazí, ale má aj určité iné výhody. A hneď sa prišlo na to, že by sa to dalo využiť, programovať tie transakcie, vložiť na ne nejaké podmienky, za ktorých tá transakcia sa prevedie, keď sa tie podmienky splňajú. Takže v podstate, takto by som to vysvetlil, smart contracts, že tie smart kontrakty, že sú to v podstate podmienky vložené na transakciu, aby prebehla. Ako sa splnia podmienky, tá transakcia sa prebehne, ak nie, tak by to nebolo možné. V podstate, ako náhle ten smart kontrakt sa nahodí na blockchain, už potom tam nie je žiadna ľudská činnosť. Už tam, neviem, ako som to vysvetlil dobre, ale už v podstate to ide samo od seba. Problém Bitcoinu však bol, že Bitcoin bol vymyslený len na ten prevod hodnoty a nedalo sa na ňom programovať veľa. Takže samozrejme prišiel Ethereum, ktorá je teraz najviac používaná v blockchain, neviem či jediná, na smart contract, keď niekto vie, tak povie. Ale v podstate je to jedna z najpoužívanejších blockchainov na smart contract. A tam v podstate prichádza RSK, aby pomohla trochu tomu Bitcoinu, pretože zastal v podstate v tom vývoji, keďže to nebolo možné na ňom, tak RSK prišli s nápadom, ako ten Bitcoin v podstate znovu posunúť vo vývoji a dať mu tú možnosť činnosti smart contract. Aby sme to dobre pochopili, vysvetlíme, že RSK je postavený v podstate na 5 stĺpoch. Som to mohol na 5 pilieroch, áno, pilieroch. Takže ten prvý pilier je Ethereum compatibility, to znamená, že je plne kompatibilné s Ethereum blockchain. Všetky smart contracts, ktoré bežia na Ethereum, sa môžu copy and paste na RSK blockchain, pretože je to v tom istom jazyku, Solidity. Bolo to ako hlavný dôvod, RSK nechceli súťažiť, chceli urobiť ďalší prínos do bitcoinovej komunity aj do smart contract. Takže v podstate prvý ten pilier bol veľmi dôležitý, aby to bolo kompatibilné s Ethereum Virtual Machine. Druhý pilier bol, že Bitcoin as a fuel, to by sa dalo preložiť ako, že sa to platí v podstate na Ethereum, ak niekto má Bitcoin, tak musí to premeniť na Ether, alebo ako sa má Ether. Aby sa tie kontrakty platili v Ethere, tak druhý pilier na RSK blockchain je, že v podstate to ide v Bitcoine vďaka RSK Bridge a two-way peg, to ešte vysvetlíme. Tak vďaka tomu RSK Bridge tie dva, RSK je v podstate sidechain Bitcoinu, to znamená, sú dva paralelné blockchainy, ktoré sú spojené RSK Bridge, tým mostom, kde v podstate prebieha tá premena Bitcoinu na smart Bitcoin, čo je v podstate token RSK blockchainu, ktorý je stále 1:1. Bude to stále 1:1, takže v podstate je to, ako by sa platilo Bitcoinom a to neviem dobre preložiť. Ale v podstate ide o to, že prebieha to takým spôsobom, že sa posiela tá transakcia na strane Bitcoinu sa zablokuje požadovaná časť Bitcoinov a na blockchaine RSK sa uvoľní tá istá časť v smart Bitcoin. Potom, keď to ide zase naspäť, tak sa zablokuje tá časť smart Bitcoin na RSK strane a na Bitcoine sa to uvoľní. Toto v podstate sme mali pripravené, že sa to technicky vysvetlí lepšie, no ale tak to ešte vysvetlíme, budeme spojení s Gabrielom, tento bude vedieť to vysvetliť. Takže ten most, ten RSK Bridge je v podstate zložený z viacerých Bitcoin exchange po celom svete a sa to volá Federation. Oni v podstate zodpovedajú za to, že prebieha tá zmena, že tie bitcoiny sú zablokované a smart bitcoin sa uvoľní a naopak. Tak oni za to zodpovedajú, to je takto teraz a v budúcnosti sa to premení na drive chain, tam bude potrebný ten soft fork a BIP, to je Bitcoin Improvement Proposal, takže to bude v budúcnosti, zatiaľ je to takto. Neviem, či som to dobre vysvetlil, ale ešte sa k tomu vrátime. Tretí pilier je merge mining. To znamená, že ťažiči, ktorí ťažia pre Bitcoin, môžu ťažiť aj zároveň v tomto istom časovom rozpätí pre RSK blockchain, s tým, že nemajú s tým žiaden výdavok naviac. Všetci vieme, že Bitcoin stojí obrovské peniaze v tom elektríne na to ťaženie. Takže v podstate merge mining znamená, že tí ťažiči môžu ťažiť na tých dvoch bitcoinoch zároveň, bez toho, aby mali z toho ešte nejaký, že by museli mať na tom nejaký platový, že by museli mať akože platové náležné. Áno. To nikdy v slovenčine nehovoril, tak sa ospravedlňujem. V podstate tu je to vysvetlené, takže tí ťažiči ťažia na dvoch blockchainoch zároveň. Takže v podstate ten hash, ktorý oni, keď sa zatvorí blok na Bitcoine, tá obťažnosť je veľmi vysoká. RSK má obťažnosť veľmi nižšiu a oni to využívajú na to, že by tam, myslím, že to je každých 14 sekúnd, keď sa zatvára blok na RSK, takže v podstate je to ten istý tá istá hash sila, ktorá je v Bitcoinu, má aj RSK blockchain. Global Federation znamená, že, ako som už vysvetlil, sú tí, ktorí sa starajú o to, aby ten prevod medzi Bitcoin a Smart Bitcoin prebehol bez problémov a že by to bolo bezpečné. V podstate je to multi-signature wallet, tá peňaženka, kde oni prijímajú a uvoľňujú Bitcoin na základe hlasovania. Oni to majú takto bezpečnostne upravené. A piatý pilier je community, to znamená, oni RSK veľmi chcú spolupracovať s celou komunitou, či už je to Bitcoin alebo blockchain community smart contract. Takže, ako som už povedal, pre nich to nie je žiadne súťaženie, oni chcú priniesť v podstate len ďalšie možnosti pre tých, ako sme povedali, doteraz to bol len Ethereum jediná možnosť, takže toto je ďalšia možnosť pre tých, ktorí buď nechcú alebo nemôžu riešiť tieto smart contract na Ethereum blockchain. Tuto vám chcem vysvetliť pár použití RSK blockchain, ktoré už v podstate bežia tieto programy na toto je jedno z Latinskej Ameriky, to bolo od firmy Coinbanks. Bolo to v podstate, je to druhá najväčšia banka v Kolumbii. V Latinskej Amerike je najväčší problém s tým, že viac ako 50% obyvateľov nie sú zapojení do toho finančného systému, pretože nemôžu mať ani bankový účet. To znamená, veľký problém, a čo chcú v podstate vyriešiť teraz banky v Latinskej Amerike, je, že chcú tých ľudí do toho zapojiť, a to takým spôsobom, že sa vymyslel ten microlending alebo mikrokredity, tak by som to mohol preložiť, že by to v podstate bola aplikácia na smartphone, kde by každý človek si mohol zažiadať maličký kredit, 10-20 eur, a bolo by to na blockchaine RSK. Takže v podstate na to, aby sa to overilo, sa urobil program. V prvom kroku to bol pre pracovníkov. Oni chodili na obedy, mali diety a tie im vyplácali v token, ktorý bol v tomto programe. A tým pádom v podstate overovali boli ako beta tester tohto programu. V počiatku to bolo asi 300 ľudí, potom už v dnešnej dobe je už to asi 3000 ľudí. V tom druhom štádiu už potom to prejde na klientov banky v takom bodovom programe, že keď si proste prenajmú určité služby od banky, tak na to dávajú niektoré body, s ktorými bodmi potom majú určité výhody. A v treťom kroku už by to bol ten finálny bod, by sa to v podstate premenilo, tam by bola ešte jedna option, čo by bola na ten microlending. Takže v podstate s obyčajným telefónom človek si vytvorí profil, fotku, meno, priezvisko, ulicu a si môže zažiadať z tejto banky maličký kredit, ktorý potom, keď vráti, všetko sa zaznamená na blockchaine, on je na to smart contract, ktorý potom v podstate vytvára taký finančný historiál každého človeka, takže bol by to obrovský prínos v tom finančníctve v Latinskej Amerike. A toto je už ten loyalty program, multiprogram, dá sa to povedať, je to v podstate aplikácia tiež na mobilný telefón, na smartphone, kde si ktokoľvek môže otvoriť takýto loyalty program. V slovenčine by sa to dalo preložiť ako vernostný program. či už je to nejaká predajňa, alebo je to bar, alebo je to v podstate ktokoľvek chce si tých zákazníkov udržať alebo priblížiť, tak si stiahne aplikáciu, otvorí si svoj vlastný program, nahodí tam pár fotiek a urobí bodový program, do ktorého sa zapoja účastníci a on tie body dáva za určité okolnosti, keď vidíš, že dáš si niečo alebo si kúpiš niečo, ty dá body, s tými bodmi potom môžeš to vymeniť za určité ostatné veci. Táto aplikácia v podstate ešte ani nie je na trhu, teraz to vyjde v tomto, alebo na budúcom. V Latinskej Amerike už to je, tu to ešte nie je, ale v podstate je to teraz na trhu, teraz to vychádza na trh, takže veľmi výborná. Je to ďalšia od Coinbanksu a na blockchain RSK. Toto sú ďalšie potenciálne use cases, ako mikropoistky, tie loyalty programy pre poisťovne, tokenization. V podstate všetko sa dá dnes premeniť na token, tie reálne veci sa premenia na digitálny token, s ktorým sa potom dá obchodovať alebo sa s tým dá pohybovať cez internet. Tuto by som chcel vysvetliť pár vecí, ktoré ešte to už sú ako NGO alebo neziskovky, s ktorými RSK spolupracuje. Toto je veľmi zaujímavý nápad, sa to volá Bitcoineta. Neviem, či si počul, David, o tom. Je to v podstate po španielsky dodávka je kamioneta, takže Bitcoineta je akože Bitcoin kamion, Bitcoin dodávka, ktorá v podstate chodí po tej Latinskej Amerike, dáva prednášky o tom, čo je to Bitcoin, čo je to blockchain, takže to v podstate rozširujú. Je to ako, bol to nápad, ako že Che Guevara chodil na tej motorke po tej Južnej Amerike, tak je to Crypto Guevara v podstate, čo chodí po tej Amerike. Už teraz, minulý týždeň som bol v Španielsku, už začínajú v Španielsku s tým, tak ak by vás to zaujímalo, tak aj tu sa to dá porobiť. RSK Educate sú programy, ktoré v podstate aj na webovej stránke sú kurzy, spolupracujú s univerzitami v Južnej Amerike. Ktokoľvek má záujem, tak v podstate sa môže na to napojiť. La Bitcoin je najväčšia kryptokonferencia v Latinskej Amerike, ktorú organizujú koncom tohto roka, bude v Čile. Tak samozrejme všetci ste pozvaní. A Blockchain for Humanity je neziskovka, ktorá v podstate chce pomôcť projektom, ktoré akýmkoľvek spôsobom využívaním blockchainu prinesú nejaký pozitívny dopad na našu spoločnosť. Takže ak niekto spolupracuje s nejakým projektom alebo pozná nejaký, tak sa môžete s nami spojiť, pomôžeme, je to v podstate globálna vec, môžeme vás prezentovať hoci kde vo svete a pomôcť. Tuto máme všetko linky, ako sa dá na RSK napojiť, akákoľvek informácia je na týchto linkoch. Ja by som chcel, myslím, že Gabriel už tam bude.
Hola.
Neviem, či, ale...
Asi bez kľúča?
Audio musí hovoriť bez
Prvý bez? Gabi?
Did you hear it? Okay.
Ahora sí. Hello.
Hello. So welcome to our meetup. So we are happy to have you on the screen at least. So we had a wonderful presentation by Ivan about RSK, and we have Q&A now. So we could start with Q&A if someone wants to ask or you want to add something, Ivan.
If I may, first I would like to thank you very much for organizing this meetup, David and Ivan and the rest of the Slovakian community. It's mind-blowing, and it's amazing to see how the Bitcoin and crypto community is also growing in Slovakia. You know that the RSK founders are from Latin America. So we have this unique view and vision on how blockchain technology and Bitcoin are so important for the emerging markets. This is the first time that we have an opportunity to build together a more inclusive financial system. You know that 50% of total human population, around 3 billion people in the world, are excluded from the traditional financial system, and most of them are in Latin America. Probably many of them also in Slovakia and Eastern Europe. So we see this technology and the combination of the flexibility of smart contracts over the security of the Bitcoin infrastructure as a unique possibility to develop the financial system and the backing of the future, where these billions of users that are currently excluded are going to be allowed to do micro transactions, micro remittances, micro e-commerce, and micro payments, which is something that is so desperately needed. So I think it's something that we probably share in Eastern Europe and Latin America. It's the need for a change, the need for a more inclusive financial system and opportunities, because many of you in the room in this meetup in Slovakia could be the entrepreneurs that will create the next Google, for the next financial services company that will serve billions of banks in the world, coming from a meetup in Slovakia, or coming from a group of entrepreneurs in Latin America. This is the beauty of the Internet of Value that I'm sure Ivan just shared with you, that it allows anyone to start innovating in financial system. If any of us wanted to create a bank in the past, it would have been a crazy idea. None of us would have been able to do it. But now, if you understand what the users need and you have a good idea and you get together with a group of programmers that can program that bank or financial services company, then we can compete institution. Actually, most probably we're going to be able to do it better than them, because you know, the RSK stack or the smart contracts in the blockchain technology are basically a core banking system on the cloud, available for any group of entrepreneurs willing to disrupt and innovate. So I'm very happy to be part of this meetup, and thank you very much for organizing this. I believe there is a huge opportunity for Latin America and for Slovakia and Eastern Europe to take a leading role in the construction of the Internet of Value. So I'm very excited about this meetup.
Gabi, you hear me? You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I did a little short explanation about what is RSK and how it is working, but we're missing the technical part. If you can tell a little bit about the two-way peg and federation and RSK bridge, that would be great. Because I was missing that Alejandro part. So
Okay, just a question. How many developers do we have in the room, or what's the percentage, so I know how deep into the technological explanation to go?
about 10 people.
Okay, so basically what we've done, I'm gonna put it anyways in a way that even if you're not a developer, you can also understand. My personal background is in finance, so I'm not a developer and still could understand this. So basically, what we did at RSK is just get the best technologies that were available in the ecosystem and put them together, working together with the right economic incentives, so every single stakeholder in the crypto space benefits from this. So firstly, RSK, it's a virtual machine that is fully compatible with that of Ethereum. Okay, so if you have a smart contract that runs on Solidity, it just seamlessly can be run on RSK. And I invite every single one of you, the developers in the room, to go to rsk.co, access to our GitHub repository, download the node, and start running your own smart contracts. Whatever you're running on Ethereum works on RSK. So this is why the Solidity and smart contract community likes RSK so much, because now if you've done an ICO or you're planning to build a solution, you have more options. You can run it on the Ethereum network, but you can also run it on the Bitcoin RSK network. The second pillar is that RSK decided not to create a new tradable coin, such as Ether, and we are using smart Bitcoin or Bitcoin as fuel to pay for the execution of the smart contracts. For that reason, all the Bitcoin community around the world is so excited about RSK, because basically if RSK is successful, that would imply thousands of Bitcoins locking the two-way peg in order to execute the smart contracts. And the way the two-way peg works is the following. You send a Bitcoin to a locking account on the Bitcoin blockchain. That Bitcoin or Satoshi or whatever you send gets locked, and with the same private key, you release a smart Bitcoin on the RSK blockchain. Right? It's like when you go to a casino and you give the cash, they give you the chips, and at the end, when you want to leave, you give the chips and you withdraw the money. So this is how the two-way peg works. You leave the Bitcoin locked, you receive the same amount of smart Bitcoins, you use these smart Bitcoins in the RSK peg that is Turing complete, that allows you to execute smart contracts, and whenever you or the miner you paid wants to cash these smart Bitcoins back, he or she sends them back to the peg and release the Bitcoins that were locked in the first place. This is what we call a side chain or a drive chain, and the general name is two-way peg. And this allows us to use Bitcoin as currency to pay for the fuel. So this is why the Bitcoin community around the world is so excited about RSK as well. Now there's a third pillar, which is the merge mining part. So not only that we are using Bitcoin to execute the smart contracts, but also we are allowing the ASIC miners to merge mine and secure the network with the same hashing power, right? And this is kind of obvious thing to do. Do you remember when we started receiving internet through the copper cable on the wall? That was infrastructure that was already deployed, and we started using it for something way cooler and more exciting than just speaking over the phone. This is exactly what we're doing with RSK. There is so much hashing power, so much hardware and electricity being spent to only secure Bitcoin that we're using that infrastructure to also secure tokens and smart contracts. And this is for the developers in the room. The way that RSK is doing the merge mining, it's integrated at pool level. And let me tell you how it works. When you are a miner, you have an S9 or any mining hardware. In most of the cases, you connect yourself to a mining pool because you don't want to get one block every million years. You want to have a few cents every hour. So there's a very high difficulty level. Let's put it up here. That is the Bitcoin difficulty level. And every single member of the mining pool sends answers all the time in order to find a positive Bitcoin block. Now, how does the mining pool know exactly how many hashing power each single miner is contributing to the pool? They request a very low difficulty level answer, which is called distribution of shares or proof of mining, that it's basically worthless, but the only reason, or the only, these solutions are used only to distribute the shares proportionally when they find a positive Bitcoin. So the RSK difficulty level is just in the middle. So we collect all these solutions that the mining pools received every 30 seconds to use valid RSK blocks, even when they are not valid for the Bitcoin difficulty level. So with this little trick, we've been able to provide the same hashing power that is currently going through the pools to secure Bitcoin, but finding solutions for RSK every 14 seconds with zero extra cost for the miners. And this is very important. The miners are just getting an extra revenue stream. They're making money out of smart contracts, only in fees, because RSK doesn't have a coin base. It's only the fees coming from smart contracts at zero cost. And this is why RSK has currently more than 80% of total Bitcoin hashing power supporting the merge mining. 20% is already implemented in the mainnet, and the remaining is coming in the next couple of months. And this is how we achieve this more efficient use of the infrastructure in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and the miners get this extra revenue stream basically just by implementing this plugin, software plugin at the pool level. Then we have a federation comprised by the most important exchanges in the ecosystem that are providing extra layers of security to the peg and oracling services and other services to the RSK users. Right now, the two-way peg that I mentioned before is federated, which means that you send Bitcoin to the RSK blockchain to receive smart Bitcoins completely automated, but when you go to go backwards, you send the smart Bitcoins to the peg, and then there is a federation with multi-signatures that release this Bitcoin. This is going to work like this until Bitcoin Core implements the drive chain, which is an opcode on which the miners can start releasing the funds also based on their hashing power. And the final pillar of RSK is the community. So instead of creating technology and then trying to raise a global community, we decided to build technology for the most exciting communities that exist as of today, which are the Solidity smart contracts community and the Bitcoin community. So given our challenge is to provide the lowest execution cost for smart contracts at the highest security level, and then we count on entrepreneurs such as yourselves all around the world to build the solutions on top of RSK that will serve the billions of unbanked and different use cases that will be developed around the world. So this is in a nutshell how RSK works, and if there's any specific question, I'm happy to answer that as well.
Okay, let me ask the people if they understand it very well. If not, we explain it here. Rozumel každý tomu, nejaký problém bol, treba niečo vysvetliť?
Nejaké otázky?
Hi there, Lucas here. I'd like to ask a question, how does the locking mechanism of the Bitcoin works, and why would people trust the mechanism to provide a backing value for the RSK?
I think the microphone is not working. I can barely hear what they're saying.
You hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yes, now I do.
Hi there. So Lucas here. I'd like to ask a question about the locking mechanism for the Bitcoin. How would you provide a backing for your cryptocurrency and RSK? And why would people trust the locking mechanism of the Bitcoin during the valuation of your currency?
So I am not sure if I understood. It's about the locking mechanism, the mechanism in the two-way peg?
It's about the principle of the mechanism. What makes people trust this principle?
Which principle?
Yeah, the two-way peg.
Okay, the two-way peg, yes. So you need to understand that the security on how sidechains work and how you can put separate blockchains attached to the Bitcoin blockchain is something that will evolve over time, and it's not completely developed right now. So the only option to implement the sidechain as of today is through a federated two-way peg, right? Because before that, we need to have an opcode, an extra opcode on the Bitcoin blockchain in order to be able to do a drive chain that is fully automated. So we have two options. Either wait until maybe when you can mute, because I get in feedback, I'm listening to myself. If you mute the computer, I think it's... I don't know what happened.
We can hear you, so you can go on and we'll try to...
Okay. Or maybe you can turn off. There we go. That's good. So, that's good. So basically, right now, the only option that we had was to put the sidechain on a federated version, which means that we need trusted parties, in this case exchanges, that are managing billions of euros under management, to have a multi-sig with a reputation on the line. So there are companies that are used to manage super secure deep cold storage and private keys management. And the amount of Bitcoins that will be in the peg initially is very low. It's only the one required to execute smart contracts. So we shouldn't expect too many Bitcoin on the two-way peg. And still we have some of the most trusted companies in the world managing one single key of that multi-sig right now. It's not ideal, but if you think about it, even if you want to do an ICO on Bitcoin, you would send the funds in Bitcoin and you will receive the tokens in the RSK layer. The only amount that you need in smart Bitcoins is to pay for the execution for the fuel of the tokens. But as opposed to Ethereum, you won't send the money in smart Bitcoins, right? So we shouldn't expect in the next 12 months to see a lot of funds in the two-way peg. So the risk is very low, and we understand that the federated solution is good enough for this phase of the process. In the meantime, we're working with Bitcoin Core, and actually we presented the drive chain opcode more than a year ago, but needs to be implemented on the Bitcoin blockchain. The way it's going to work once it's implemented is that every single time a mining pool mines a new block, they're going to have an opcode that it's either 1 or 0, and we're going to take that 1 as a release of the funds message. So after 50 blocks in Bitcoin blockchain with 50 release the funds signals, automatically the peg will release the funds and the Bitcoins. And this is the beauty of this, is that it can be implemented as a soft fork. So you don't need all the miners to have it. If 100% of the miners or mining pools has it, then after 50 blocks, you're going to have 50 release the funds signals. If 50% of the miners has it, then you're going to need to wait for 100 Bitcoin blocks to get 50 signals of release the funds. But that's something that can be programmed. We have other blockchains, such as Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Dash, that also want to implement the drive chain. So probably what we're going to see is similar to what happened with Segwit, that is going to be implemented first in another blockchain, tested there, and then if it works, then Bitcoin Core will probably include it. So this is, I don't know if it answers your question, but this is how the federated solution works. It's not ideal, it's the best we have right now, and it's way more secure than the amount of Bitcoins that are at risk in the peg right now. But we have a plan to increase it and make it even more secure in the near future. Now you need to unmute so I can ask. Yeah. I think it just, yeah.
Hi.
Okay.
There you go. Yes.
You told that RSK is compatible with Ethereum smart contracts, but does it apply to even to infrastructure like the wallets, for instance, like MetaMask? Does it work on RSK as well?
Could you repeat the question? So it's fully compatible, but I didn't get the other part.
I asked that if MetaMask is working on RSK as well, if it's compatible.
Yes, it is working, and you can have Uport and any other tools that are available on Ethereum also work on RSK. MetaMask in particular, it's already available.
Can I have one more quick question? Is there some wallet that involves sending Bitcoin transactions and as well on RSK?
Okay, so right now, for instance, the Gnosis multi-sig wallet works on RSK. We are working on an integration, so you can have an opcode on the RSK blockchain that actually looks directly on the Bitcoin blockchain as well. That requires a hard fork and will be implemented in the next couple of months. But yes, what you're mentioning is very interesting, because with that, you're going to be able to do automated ICOs on RSK, directly receiving the funds in Bitcoin. This is a major problem that we are facing as of today in the Ethereum ecosystem, because most of the projects that have been doing fundraising through Ethereum, they raise the funds in Ether. And given that Ether is very much volatile and it's not scarce and it's probably not ideal store of value, we're seeing a major correction of the price in the markets in these last couple of months. There's a lot of excitement in the ecosystem about this opportunity to directly fundraise in Bitcoin and issue the tokens on RSK, but having the maximum security in the funds that are being raised. So the direct answer to your question, we still do not have this wallet that manage RSK and Bitcoin at the same time. I mean, you can use Jax, right? In Jax, you can have, it's already integrated with smart Bitcoins and you have all the other blockchains. But we still need to change one opcode in order to be able to seamlessly look and talk to both blockchains at the same time. It's a minor change that needs to be done on RSK that will be done in the next couple of months.
Hi there. I just want to ask how many people working on RSK actually now all over the world?
Can you repeat that? Can you
Yes, I just want to ask how many people are working on this RSK all over the world?
Perfect. So right now we have around 40 developers working on the RSK core team around the world. They're in New Zealand, in Spain, also in some other parts of Latin America. We are in the process of expanding the team globally. So this is an announcement. We are hiring developers all around the world. If any of you please send us through Ivan or David your CV. In everything that we develop on RSK, it's public on the RSK GitHub code. If you have technical questions, you can go to the Gitter blog when our core development team answers questions from the ecosystem. And all the 69 different RSK IPs, improvement proposals, are public on the GitHub repo. So if you guys want to get involved, there's a bounty program for security auditors that want to check and analyze the code and send us feedback. So really looking forward to expand our team and if we end up having a couple of developers in the core team from Slovakia, I will be the happiest person ever, because part of these meetups and these exercises that we do and visiting and being present with all the communities around the world is because we want to have a global team, especially coming from the emerging markets and those countries and cities where this technology is needed the most. So I encourage you guys to get in touch and send us your CVs, either from a business development or technical development. We can count with your help, and we'll be happy to take a look at that.
You mentioned that you are maybe expecting that the sidechain will be first implemented on some kind of different cryptocurrency than Bitcoin to be tested. Is that something that is already happening? Like, are you having talks, for example, with Litecoin developers or something? Or is it something you expect to happen in the near future?
Okay, yes. So we really appreciate when different teams and blockchains and cryptocurrencies compete among themselves based on innovation, security, and decentralization. We believe that friendly competition or collaboration between different teams and groups is actually very good for the ecosystem. This thing that happened with Segwit, first being implemented in Litecoin and then in Bitcoin, I think it was perfect. So we tested the technology in a smaller blockchain with a smaller community and less value at stake, and then when it was tested, it was implemented on Bitcoin. There are public conversations that has been happening in Twitter with Charlie Lee, very interested in promoting the drive chain on Litecoin. There's actually a Litecoin conference happening tomorrow, and Diego is going to be part of that conference. So yes, we are in conversations with the Litecoin team, the Dash team. It's a great team. They have amazing developers, and we've been in conversations for a long time. They also want to have a drive chain and a smart Dash available. So it makes sense for every single Bitcoin-like blockchain or cryptocurrency to also integrate and have their own smart contract integration. So yes, there are many conversations in place. Of course, our first priority is to integrate with Bitcoin, and because it's the most secure and the most broadly accepted and used blockchain and cryptocurrency. But we are open to other projects. Sometimes they are more focused, or they have less at stake and they can take more risk and push forward innovation. So we're cool with this dynamic, and we let every single one compete and integrate with RSK, despite the fact that we believe, of course, that the one that is going to provide global adoption and serve the billions of unbanked should be Bitcoin.
And one more question. Why did you choose Solidity, and do you think you will introduce some other languages in the future?
Yes, that's a good question. First of all, we understood and appreciated the amazing community of developers that have been working on Solidity and smart contracts for the last 3 years. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we built was fully compatible with what they've been doing, and give them an option to run those solutions on both blockchains or on those platforms at the same time. So this is the first step. Now, in the future, we expect to have integrations, so other languages can be used to run also smart contracts on RSK, such as Java and JavaScript. In order to reach billions of users, we need to have millions of developers being able to write smart contracts. And there's only a very small group of developers worldwide that understand and can write in Solidity. So there are many ideas of using different compilers to use other broadly used languages such as Java or JavaScript. But we thought that the best first step was to keep full compatibility with Ethereum. So all the ecosystem that has been built around Ethereum and all the magnificent projects that currently exist can also run their solution on RSK. But as you said, I fully agree, we as an industry need to have compilers that allow developers that do not know how to program Solidity to also be able to be part of this. It's in the roadmap.
Hi. I read some information also that Rootstock work on some improvements of scalability of Bitcoin, some instant payments or something like this. Can you explain it and maybe compare it to Lightning Network?
Yes. So the vision of RSK is that Bitcoin will scale in layers, right? Similar to what happened with the internet. The early versions of the web, every single node was broadcasting the information to every single other node in the network, in the same way that Bitcoin works today. But that is very inefficient. Imagine if every time I send a WhatsApp message, I would need to broadcast that to every single other node in the network, right? So we believe that scalability will evolve into layers. And actually, that's why Bitcoin is the initial layer, which I like to compare to an armor truck. You know, that those massive trucks that you use to send cash from one bank to the other. It doesn't have air conditioning. It's not very fast. It's not very comfortable, but it's super secure and slow. That's okay. When I want to send a large amount of money, then I use an armor truck. But then when I want to pay a tab in a pub or want to do an e-commerce, I use PayPal or credit card. So in the same way, a second layer for Bitcoin could be RSK. If you use smart Bitcoins on the second layer instead of Bitcoins in the first layer, you have a little bit higher risk because, as we said before, these smart Bitcoins are set in a multi-sig, today managed by a federation and in the future managed by the drive chain, but it will never be as secure as having your private keys and your Bitcoin directly. So if you need more scalability, you can go to the second layer, which will have up to 400 transactions per second on-chain. And if you need even more, you can go to Lumino, which is the third layer, which is similar to Raven or the Lightning Network. So you can create off-chain payments, payment channels on top of RSK, which will allow you to do up to 20,000 transactions per second off-chain. So this is the conception and the scalability as seen from a sidechain standpoint, where you stay in Bitcoin for as long as you can, unless you need additional functionality, such as smart contracts, or additional scalability. And then in that case, you use RSK, and then you use Lumino if you need to go even farther. For instance, if you are a poor lady in Nepal that needs to do 50 transactions per month, extremely small transactions, and cannot afford 50 transaction fees on chain, maybe not even on chain on the RSK layer, then that lady will probably open a payment channel with a fintech in Nepal. We interact through that intermediary with all the different shops and expenditures that she has over the month, and do only 2 transactions on chain on RSK, one to open the payment channel with the intermediary and one to close the payment channel with the intermediary. Is that the ideal solution? A core Bitcoiner would tell you that it's not, because it's not decentralized and it's using and is that lady will be able to choose between decentralization or extremely low cost. And probably we in this room will choose something, and that old lady will say, you know what, I don't care using an intermediary if I can do 50 or 1,000 transactions per month and having a few cents cost. And maybe if we start buying coffee in Starbucks, we will do the same. We won't care using an intermediary and paying with an off-chain payment channel. But then if we are buying a car, or if we are buying a house, then we will use Bitcoin. And for some intermediary solution, if we are paying salaries in our company, probably we will use RSK. So this is our vision of scalability. For different use cases, you will have different ideal solutions in terms of cost, scalability, and security. There's not going to be one perfect solution for every single use case. But the beauty is that with RSK, you don't need to use different cryptocurrencies, but you can also always use Bitcoin and the Bitcoin infrastructure with different layers, functionality, and security.
Is it possible to fork RSK and create my own federated chain and run parallel side chain on Bitcoin?
Absolutely, and this is the beauty of open source technology. Everything that we are doing, it's open source, and any of you can fork it, copy it, and paste it, and have your own RSK version of it. There are actually companies that are running right now an RSK private solution because they are playing around and getting comfort about that, and then they are planning to move into the public RSK blockchain in the future. RSK has something quite unique, which is its development team. And probably it's worth spending a couple of minutes talking about Sergio and Diego here. Diego has created the the Bitcoin and blockchain community in Argentina and in 10 other communities in the world, in Latin America in particular. And we've been running the community and helping every single project in Latin America to develop. So there's a lot of reputation around RSK because its founders, Diego and myself, have been helping other businesses for the last 5 years, even before creating RSK. Sergio, which is Sergio Lerner, our chief scientist, also co-founder, he is the one that made the calculation about how many Bitcoins Satoshi mined. Probably you've heard that Satoshi mined around 1 million Bitcoin. The actual number is 980,000. It was calculated by Sergio Lerner back in 2013. And the reason is that Sergio got involved in Bitcoin in 2011. He is a security auditor by background, and he thought that Bitcoin was a mess and that was full of bugs. So he started auditing the Bitcoin code, and he found 6 of the 10 most important vulnerabilities in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Sorry, in the Bitcoin code. 1 second. Sorry. So given that Sergio found all these bugs, the Bitcoin Foundation in the US hired Sergio as security auditor for the foundation in the US. And also, Sergio created DAG coin, that you can Google it, it's a public blog, which is the technology on which the IOTA coin was built upon. Sergio did the security auditor of IOTA. Well, I won't mention anything about IOTA, but just to give an idea, he created that technology. And also Sergio created in 2013 a paper called Quickscoin, which was the first Turing-complete smart contract, even before Ethereum was created. It was meant only for online poker, so Sergio didn't see this potential of smart contracts to change our financial system. But given that he created that initial paper, when Vitalik hired 3 security auditors, hired Sergio as one of the main security auditors of Ethereum. So yes, RSK can be forked. It would be extremely difficult for anyone in the world to match this unique combination of knowledge between the Bitcoin blockchain and Bitcoin technology and the Ethereum blockchain. But yes, it's open source, so if we are doing something that is not smart enough, or if anyone in the world believes that they can do it better than we can, the code is there, you can fork it and do it better. I don't know if someone is asking a question, but it's me.
Thank you, Gabi. So maybe I have one more question. So you mentioned LTCP or Lumino. So is it being developed now, or where is it on the roadmap?
Yes. So we're working on Lumino right now. We expect it to be launched during 2019. Cannot commit to a specific date right now. It's very interesting, everything that happened on Lightning, so we have that to learn from. Ideally, we're discussing ways in order to connect Lumino with Lightning, so we can benefit from the Lightning ecosystem. It's very interesting to see Lightning Network succeed, and also Lumino. Lumino will allow you to create payment channels for every kind of token secured by the Bitcoin network. So Lightning is mainly focused on Bitcoin. With Lumino, you can also create payment channels on Bitcoin, but also you can create payment channels of crypto euros, crypto dollars, crypto pesos, or any other crypto commodity or currency that you create on RSK. So the potential scope of Lumino is way broader. And also, given that Lumino is based on RSK, which is based on accounts and not UTXOs, that also adds additional flexibility in the sense that it's more similar to Raiden in Ethereum than to Lightning on how it works, because Lightning works on top of a UTXO blockchain underneath.
Okay, so I have more questions. So you mentioned the opcode that you need to get into Bitcoin Core in order to implement the drive chain. How does that look? When it's going to be most likely being implemented into the core?
Yes, this is a question that doesn't have an answer. And I understand that Bitcoin Core protects the anti-fragility of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's most important value is to become Gold 2.0 and to provide every single citizen in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, and in Slovakia a store of value that can protect our savings over time. So we understand and we appreciate how Bitcoin Core works, but that it makes also very difficult to predict when different innovations will happen on Bitcoin. There is a discussion group. We have a close relationship with some of the developers, the core developers, but we also believe that it's interesting to have conversations with other teams. Bitcoin Core definitely knows about this potential and it's understanding and discussing it, but I think when we see the drive chain implemented in another blockchain, we will see actually Bitcoin Core receiving some pressure from the ecosystem and moving forward in order to implement this. The good thing is that, first of all, we can move forward with the federated version of it, which is quite strong and secure, and also we can implement the drive chain on other blockchains. Bitcoin has its own governance, it's very unique. It is very important the way it is because it protects the store of value, but it makes it a little bit unpredictable when different opcodes will be implemented.
Maybe one more question from me, if no one else is asking. Can you maybe explain the process if we have a project and we want to use RSK, we need to somehow get whitelisted, right? Can you explain how that works?
No. So if you want to launch a project on RSK, the only thing you need is to either access a public node. Now we have Infura-like public nodes, so you don't have and just run your smart contract using MetaMask or any of the other available tools. There is a wiki. All this information and all these tools are in rsk.co. If you have any question or any difficulty through Ivan or David, you can access directly to ask the core team, or you can ask that question directly in Gitter. But it should be fairly simple for everyone to run a smart contract on RSK. If you have experience using Solidity, it should be seamless. the move from a smart contract that runs on Ethereum to running on RSK. You have an RSK testnet, of course. You can test everything there for free. There's a faucet, you can get smart Bitcoins from the testnet. And then if you want to run it on the mainnet, you can either get your Bitcoin address whitelisted, so you send Bitcoins and you receive smart Bitcoins, or we are in the process of implementing smart Bitcoins in multiple exchanges around the world to make it easier for users to access this. Smart Bitcoin doesn't have any speculative value, right? It's always pegged to Bitcoin, but it allows developers and users to pay for the fuel and to execute smart contracts. And the whitelisting is just a security measure that we are going to keep for a couple of months, no more than that, because we don't want anyone to commit a mistake and to send a lot of funds into the peg and put unnecessary risk on the peg. This is the only reason why we're doing the whitelisting. It's something that we really don't like, but this is not a sprint. We are not rushing into things. It's a marathon, and we're building something that hopefully will help us, you guys and us, to build a better society. This is why blockchain for humanity and everything that Ivan is doing is so important. And I would like to also encourage all of you to think not only how to create use cases on RSK, but make sure that those use cases are targeted and focused on the billions of unbanked and people that are currently excluded from the system, that are desperate for consumer credit, desperate for microfinancial services, and those are the ones, the use cases that I'm least most excited. But anything that you want to develop on RSK, we have our ecosystem and team and business development team ready to help you in any way you need.
I don't know if there is some other question. If not, then I would have one more, last one. And that would be, when do you expect some ICOs on RSK, and if there are some in the progress?
Yes, so there is one token being issued on RSK that hopefully will become public at the beginning of next month. And we expect, we have multiple partners that already have done an ICO on Ethereum and want to move their tokens into RSK. So we're working on a bridge that would allow you to either burn or deposit tokens on a locking account and receiving or unlocking a twin token on RSK. So we have partners such as Civic and other solutions that have done an ICO on Ethereum, but now want to make their solution also available on RSK. I believe that in this market, everybody understands how much needed and important is to have the option to do ICOs on the Bitcoin network, so you can keep and receive the crowdfunding in Bitcoin and have Bitcoin volatility and not Ethereum volatility as part of your project. So it can be done as of today, but it needs a manual process to receive the Bitcoin, validate the addresses, and send the tokens in the RSK blockchain. I would say that in the next 2 months, we're going to do the hard fork that will allow seamless ICOs, so you directly receive the funds in Bitcoin and send the tokens to the same address in the RSK blockchain. But there are at least 10 projects that I know that are currently working on ICOs on RSK to be launched towards the end of this year or early next year. But it's something, again, that I'm not rushed. This is a marathon, and the most important thing is that we build technology that cannot be broken, that is super secure. In that sense, we are very much like, the Bitcoin mindset, in the sense that we're building something that needs to last 50 years, and probably is the only chance that our society has to be reshaped and give opportunity to those that are currently excluded. So we feel that responsibility every time we write code and every time we move forward and give step forward. definitely we're going to see a lot of hype and ICOs on Bitcoin and on RSK, but it's something that we need to do only when the network is secure and robust enough to support all that value. Okay?
Okay, so I think that was probably the last question. Thank you very much once again for joining us via Skype or here. It was a great pleasure to have you here. And
thank you. Thank you very much, guys, for having me, for organizing this meetup. David, Ivan, and the rest of the community. I really look forward to go and visit you in person soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to speak Slovak, but I'll do my best, at least to know how to say thanks and hello. But I'm really excited to see that Slovakia is getting on board and being part of the building blocks of the Internet of Value. I believe that we share this sense of urgency and how much this technology is needed to improve our countries and to build better societies for us and for our children. So I'm super grateful to have been invited to this meetup. Thank you guys for organizing it, and feel free to contact me at any time through Ivan or David. You can also share my Twitter, my email. Anything that we can do to help you guys build amazing solutions for your country and your city and Eastern Europe in general, count on my help. Thank you very much for having me. Bye.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Takže to bol asi koniec aj tohto meetupu. Ak Ivan ešte nemá nejaké posledné vetičky, takže kľudne môžeme si dať ešte 5 minút na dojedenie koláčov a nejaký neformálny networking. Takže keď máte niekto otázky na Ivana, tak ešte tu chvíľku bude, takže kľudne sa pýtajte.
Ja chcem ešte poďakovať za pozornosť a za... Netušil som, ako to bude ťažké v slovenčine niečo povedať. Po tých rokoch je to fakt, takže prosím o pochopenie. Ďakujem.
Tak ja ešte vás opakujem, že to 9.